Here we go.
All right, we're
Screen
here.
heat. Yes.
Yes. Screen heat is industry heat. That is right.
Yes. This is our industry heat segment, catching you up on what's happening in the industry. There's a lot going on. Oh my goodness. I'm not sure if we've had this much going on in the industry since ever.
Yes. Our content plate is full, my friend. So we need
It
to start
is.
to dig into some of this extra crispy and hot industry content.
Fried chicken content. I'm Kevin Sharpley,
I'm Joe Martinez.
and here we go. We're going to start this off with Sora making a power
Yes.
move. Oh my goodness. OpenAI. They don't care, man. They're like, everybody, we're going to eat them up.
Oh,
We're going
yeah.
to eat everyone up. Sora just released Sora 2, and wow, the videos that they're releasing first are just mind blowing. Mind blowing. And, they brought a lot of people back that aren't with us anymore. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's Stephen Hawkins doing a half pipe on his wheelchair.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Galileo going down the runway. You had Martin Luther King Jr. and Steve Jobs going back and forth at each other. I mean,
Yeah. Well, they say that AI has a tendency to hallucinate. So these are some of the video incarnations of what those hallucinations might be looking like inside of the brain of an AI.
yeah, I mean, it's created a ripple in the industry. Number one, it's a tool, and this is not just Sora 2. I'm just going to do a little aside. It is a tool that a lot of people are utilizing, and I could say this just, with my peers. We're utilizing it more for production pipeline to kind of help move things along, little tiny things, whether it's scheduling or, you know, connectivity amongst our teams and these kind of things. But man, the visual effects, all the things that you could see now within a year, really. And I could say two. I mean, but within even the past few months, it's moved at lightning pace.
Yeah.
At the speed of light. I said lightning, but at the speed of light. And so Sora 2 was just released. It really co-opted, I saw things with Pokemon, every character, every IP you could think of. And look, this is the headline and deadline. Sora is coming, Sora is here, and Hollywood is sore. As a yeah,
It's a Dr. Seuss book. That's what it is.
Yeah, but that is a funny headline, but it's not so funny as an IP creator myself. Um, you know, to see my IP co-opted and utilized in a way that I certainly didn't intend for that IP to be utilized would make me sore.
Yeah.
Because these things take a long time to develop. It takes
Right.
money, it takes time, it takes energy, and it's finite oftentimes.
Yeah.
And so just to have your IP co-opted, it's just a difficult situation.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about visual effects and, being able to create environments and, kind of help with these things. But it's a whole nother thing when you're talking about intellectual property.
Yes. Yeah. The IP battle rages on in Tinseltown. And you're totally right that the big agencies, obviously, because they protect the talent and the IP along with the studios, I think we were saying before, their whole goal is for their clients to get paid so they can get paid. So when that monetization of their IP or their talent is sort of co-opted by this new AI, then that becomes a big issue for them. It's something that's been building though, even before this kind of AI explosion, right? Because social media has been doing that for years now. Anybody can have a platform and they can call it a parody account or whatever and post memes and pictures and video clips from, big studio movies, from big movie stars, and so it seems like the industry, because of the issue with social media being a platform and not the content creator itself, so to speak, they've been able to distance themselves from it. Now with this idea that AI is actually creating the content, maybe that's now a bridge too far with apps like Sora, kind of saying, well, I guess they also kind of want to be a social media app with AI generated content, also trying to like use the social media blanket protection, but it feels like it's a different ball game, and it is kind of intruding a lot on these kind of bigger IPs.
Yeah, I'm just gonna read a line from the article. The app's remix feature allows for mind-bending mashups like Tupac Shakur sitting on the set of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, which I did see that one. Michael Jackson doing jackass-like stunts, or I mentioned Pikachu strapping on a helmet to fight in The Thin Red Line, which is one of my favorite movies, by the way, Terrence Malick. But at any rate, it's one thing kind of co-opting intellectual property, but co-opting people. And these are people that, are no longer with us just in that particular line, but co-opting people that are alive. I'm not a big Jake Paul fan, but I did see a little skit with Jake Paul putting on makeup. And, I'd be pissed, to be honest. I'm just saying this, I kind of make light of it, but not pissed because look, I'll do a makeup skit myself. I don't care. But to have someone using me in
Right.
a way that I did not approve is,
Yeah.
it's a bridge too far. And
It,
so
it is. No,
yeah, just let me say this. The way that Sam Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI, the way he framed it was an opt out. So that meant the IP holder and or the person or the management would have to reach out to them to opt out. That's insane. That you have to reach out to them to opt out for your likeness to
yeah.
not be a part of their large language model. That's crazy.
Yeah, like you have to take a proactive step. Like in other words, we're going to do whatever you want until you tell us not to, and then we'll try to
Yeah.
figure it out. And so, yeah, it's a bit the opposite. So it's like as opposed to getting permission at the beginning, they're saying, "Hey, we're going to let these creators do whatever they want, and if you have a problem with it, then we'll talk later." So that's
So they changed it. Yeah,
yeah, they
now
had
it's
to
it's
change
an
that,
opt-in,
right?
but there's already lawsuits. There's a lot
Oh,
of a few
sure,
lawsuits going on.
yeah,
Disney has one. I believe that one is with Runway.
yeah,
And then look, you can take us too long to go through all of them, but CAA, which is one of the biggest talent agencies in the world, already told
yeah,
OpenAI no, our clients will
yeah,
not participate.
yeah. So no CAA talents; they're all opting out.
They're all opting out. Um, and so, this thing rages on. And I kind of
Exactly.
think about, Napster. And then, Napster kind of evolved into now what Spotify is. And there's a big brouhaha about that too. And, maybe we'll talk about that on our next IO screen heat, which is, a lot of artists are upset. They're music artists, they're not making any money except for the biggest ones, which aren't making a lot. But the CEO who just stepped down is a billionaire. And so just for the
Yeah,
content creators, the IP creators, the creatives, the talent in front of the camera, and also the people that participate, and musicians and all this, a lot of this really needs to be figured out because everybody, I love this, kind of new economy that democratizes ways to connect with audiences, but everybody deserves to get paid.
yeah. And again, that was the whole purpose of having intellectual property in the first place, is to protect certain creative works, right? And things that make you recognizable in the marketplace, right? Your brand, whether it's your likeness, whether it's your company logo, whether it's a specific franchise, movie characters, cartoons, all that has value in the marketplace. And that's how obviously the creative industries have worked for years. And again, starting with the I'm gonna mess this up.
Digitization.
Digitization of content, right? Because before, music labels could control distribution because you had to buy a cassette tape or a vinyl or a CD. You had to, depend on whatever the DJ and the local radio station. We just had Hollywood Hamilton, right? They were the arbiters of taste, right? And said, okay, these are who you're going to listen to. These are the top artists. Now it's all kind of in the hands of the average person, the creator. You surf the internet, you find whatever song you want to play at whatever time, and it's right there at your fingertips. And so, with all that power and all that access, there has to come now a level of responsibility, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we are.
And yeah, I think a little bit of the dust is settling, and you could see this with Lionsgate. Lionsgate did a partnership with an AI outfit called Runway.
Yeah.
Runway, just on the face, you can create, if you draw something, you can animate it quicker just by asking the AI to animate it. You can come up with different animations, text to what they call generative AI. So text to image and then image to movement. So, it is a tool. And so Lionsgate partnered with Runway, and what they did is they gave Runway, like all the library of their movies, and to create what's called a large language model, which is what the AI feeds into to produce whatever it is that you see or that you interface with. Well, what's happened is through their library, and they have a vast library. They're not the biggest studio, but they have a vast library. They still weren't able to produce enough content for the large language model to feed off of. And so, they still are trying to come up with ways to make it a more robust offering in order to, they talked about so many different things, creating entire movies and sequels and prequels and spin-offs and shows, utilizing AI, but there just is not enough material, which it takes a lot of material to come up with OpenAI. And what they're doing with Sora and ChatGPT is it combs the entire internet and pulls up the material that it utilizes for its large language models, and it's a lot. And it's another conversation. It takes a lot of energy to do all this stuff too, which is a big part of the conversation of creating a space that works for everyone. But now Lionsgate is not going to be able to extrapolate the value that they thought that they were going to extrapolate from this relationship, and it's showing some of the limitations, at least for now, of AI.
Yeah. So the technology is just not there to put off professional standards for what Lionsgate is used to outputting, and it's going to require a lot of different softwares and time and technology and just sheer power, right? And supercomputers have to power this incredible amount of energy that it takes to create high level prestige content, so it's still a bit of a ways off in that sense. But, like everything technological, it grows exponentially. So the issues that they could be having technically today, 5 years from now, could be almost like the touch of a button, right?
So, yeah, 5 years. Thanks for giving us a timeline.
all you real human creators out there, you have 5 years. Get out there and get paid, then set off into the sunset.
Hey, there is good news, though. James Cameron says that AI is never going to take the place of humans. Okay. Never.
Right. And this is the guy who predicted it in the 1980s with his Terminator movie.
Yeah, he did. Go back and watch that one. Watch the whole series. Well, he predicted that, and also the take over the world by AI. But
this will not end well, according to James Cameron, guys. So even though it's fun, to have whoever, Stephen Hawking doing big time rollerblade maneuvers, It's not going to end well, guys. It's not going to end with memes.
No. But he does say, and this is part and parcel to a lot of my conversation. I said it we had a panel along, with the Miami Media and Film Market on AI with in conjunction with the Miami Film Festival. This is back in April. Um,
Yes.
and then
Which,
we
by the way, we got to mention our sponsors.
Oh, yes. Um,
Now that you started it off, Miami Media and Film Market,
yes, Cinevision
Kamakol.
and Kajik Multimedia. And so, and then at the Miami Media and Film Market 3 weeks ago, we had a panel on AI. And the big thing about this is, for me, specificity. There is certain nuances and intonations and that are just almost impossible to replicate. I speak about it in terms of I love to work with actors. Why? Because you can approach a scene in one way. So let's say the scene is about anger from a disgruntled lover. Maybe an actor approaches it where they're crying and they're in tears. And then the actor in another take may approach it with anger. And then maybe the actor in another take will approach it with subtleties and silence. And
Yep.
so how are you going to just write that? And then maybe you want to change the angle, you want to change the lighting, you want to change, so many different things. That is just almost impossible. And the nuances
Yeah.
and this is just actors, the nuances of these performances.
Yeah, the
So
human experience. And it's funny, we didn't mention it, but there's an interesting open letter that this actress, Betty Gilpin, wrote to the AI actress that's causing a bunch of stir as well, Tilly Norwood, as she approaches her late 30s, early 40s, giving advice to a young actress. And she does it in this really fun kind of like tongue-in-cheek way of saying, hey, look, this is the experiences I went through as a young actress. Oh, but wait, you're AI. So you didn't have, to struggle going to theater school and getting, cat calls in New York and being at the top of your game physically. And now your looks are starting to fade. So how do you transition? Like all those things that a human actress would go through, which is the struggle. And a lot of times comes out in these very human performances. And I always like to say that what makes cinema interesting is finding the perfection in the imperfections, right?
yeah,
And which is something that traditional AI maybe tries to do away with. They want flawlessness, they want perfection, in the pursuit of truth or whatever. That sometimes it's an actor making a unique choice that maybe doesn't feel like the correct choice, but they're following an instinct based on their previous life or their current life or whatever they're going through emotionally and their background that makes that story and that moment so human and so unique, which is what we respond to.
authenticity.
Yes,
And
authenticity.
so there is a thing called Uncanny Valley. This has been around for years. This is before AI took off. You can go back to the Polar Express, which is animated, which is eye. The human eye feels a difference over time. And so, you see these little short clips that work, but over extended amount of time, is that going to work? What James Cameron really spoke on, more specifically, is that even the nuances in the visual effects, maybe a fire looks wrong, or a little piece of whatever it is that goes in front of the screen. These little tiny nuances all make a difference in that connection with the audience. So, we'll see over time. I'm on the side of AI will never make it to that. I think maybe it could be good for little short things, but these kind of connecting with people and connecting with audiences in a bigger frame, I'm not so sure that could happen. But
Right.
there is something that is connecting with audiences, vertical video.
Oh, yes.
Vertical video. So this is one of the hottest markets in all of the industry right now. It started over in China. They love it. It's all in your cell phone. They have apps, and it's sort of like soap opera dramas that you watch on your, they're all vertical videos. So all videos that are up and down on your phone. And these are, for the most part right now, the ones that are popular are kind of like soap operas, and they really feel like soap operas. And so it's been transplanted to the US and other countries, and it's really taken off like fire. And so there's this new partnership, um, Sony and Holy Water. Sony and Holy Water. So Holy Water is, um, and
It's
so
not the Catholic streamer that I thought it was.
no, no, I said Sony. I'm sorry, Fox. Um, but Holy Water is not. This has nothing to do
No
with
association with the Vatican or the Roman
religious
Catholic Church.
content,
Yes.
but they are one of the in the forefront of these vertical videos, and so Fox is connecting with them to produce the next generation of these vertical videos. And like I said, it's one of the fastest rising segments of the industry. And so just as a lot of people and a lot of insiders and outsiders speak about the declining numbers, I would say, in the industry. Here you have this red hot segment of the industry that
Yeah.
really has taken off.
Hmm.
So, look for that. Um,
Yes.
and look for this red hot segment with YouTube, which we all
Well,
know. I've spoken
right.
about it. YouTube accounts for 12% of all streaming, but the YouTubers, JL.
Yeah. I mean, look, you with all this time talking about AI, it makes the YouTubers feel old now, right? Like that was so 2020. You real life YouTubers out there creating actual content. But yes, YouTubers are definitely getting their moment and doing something that, for a while didn't think that they would do or even need, which is turning themselves into actual TV channels, which does seem like a natural evolution. And so, this idea that some of the top YouTube channels, Mr. Beast as a good example, are starting fast channels, right? So, this is free ad supported television. And so they're starting these channels where they're curating their shows. So as opposed to you going to their YouTube channel and clicking on whatever video you want or whatever's trending, whatever's new, they're just playing it like, the old school MTV days, right? Where they would, select the best videos and just play it for you. And you could click on and click off like the good old days of cable. And so
Yeah.
it seems like, again, they're using their audience and their brand and their power to now create this other vertical and revenue stream that is, again, is more similar to what traditional cable channels would look like. So versus how they monetize their YouTube channel.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We're on YouTube now, so
Well, get us our fast channel deal, Kevin.
yeah, that fast. Yeah, we're working on it. We're working
We're
on it.
getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah. Um, because Miami is hot just in general.
Yes, it is. And there's an old saying in the business, everything old becomes new again. We just talked about that. But one of the biggest all-time brands, we talk about IP, we talk about brands, you talk about Miami, you talk about uh, a show that really captured the cultural zeitgeist of not only South Florida, but the entire country in the 1980s, known as Miami Vice, is coming back in a big way. So Joe Kosinski, who is probably arguably one of the hottest directors in Hollywood right now.
F1.
Yeah, just two back-to-back mega hits. What really brought theatrical out of the pandemic. It was his movie Top Gun Maverick, and then more recently for Apple Studios, F1, another monster hit just this summer. So it looks like Joe Kosinski's next film, which was greenlit by Universal and even given a release date, I believe August of 2027, will be a reboot of Miami Vice. So it looks like that's going to start shooting sometime next year. Still early days on casting, at least. There are some rumors that Glenn Powell may play the Don Johnson role as Sonny Crockett and possibly Michael B. Jordan, Creed, coming in as Ricardo Tubbs. So that this iconic duo from the 80s, which I kind of like that casting if that actually
I
holds,
do.
and that's what it is. It seems like that's a good pairing there between those two guys and kind of like, a nice sort of homage to the original pair, which were amazing in and of themselves.
Yeah, I'm a huge, huge Miami Vice fan. I have my project, The Beach Chronicles, which is Miami Vice meets Dune, meets Chinatown, meets Blade Runner. And for us, we were really blessed to now we did reach out to Philip Michael Thomas, and he didn't become a part of that project. And we reached
Okay.
out to John Johnson, who did not become a part of that project, but
Right.
his son did voice our detective. And that's how much of a fan I am of that Miami Vice. One of the most
Yeah.
groundbreaking shows, Michael Mann. And look, the film didn't get the accolades it deserved, and there were kind of things going on with
Well,
with
you
the
were
film
talking about
itself.
the first reboot, right? The one with Jamie Foxx and
Jamie Foxx and Colin Farrell.
Colin
Yeah,
Farrell. Yeah, yeah, which was not set in this one. Will, according to the trades, will be set during the 1980s, and specifically will, I guess, share a similar timeline to the first season of Miami Vice. So there, whereas the last film was more contemporary.
yeah. And I'm a huge Michael Mann fan. I'm also a fan. Look, F1 was one of my favorite movies of this year. So you know, Kaczynski is an incredible director, so I know he'll do a great job on that. So I'm looking forward to this popping off. Just
Yeah.
like just like another Miami big in the 80s and into the 2000s, our alma mater, University of Miami, killing it.
Yes.
Killing it.
How about them Canes? They're really blowing it up, and in terms of media and ratings, one of the highest rated game days of all time. That was at the University of Miami campus. Their games are been pretty much almost all ABC national network prime time, huge coverage, including the big win over the Seminoles this past weekend. And it just looks like they're on a roll. And the Miami brand, the Miami Canes, are just rolling. So yeah, go Canes.
Yeah. They're the number 2 team in the nation. Okay, we're not a sports podcast. We have to bring our friend on who does the Canes. Uh
Oh yes, our buddy Danny Enriquez, who is he's amazing. Yeah, with the Canes in sight. So definitely go and check that podcast out
yeah, and also
for in depth
we're going to
coverage.
bring Danny on one of our next industry heats.
Love it.
But yeah, so excited. Did a music video with the undefeated championship team, some members of that undefeated championship team of 2000, 2001. I'll put it on the website for you all to check it out. But we're really excited. This is an exciting story for us. And there is one more Miami link.
Yes.
Miami creatives.
Yes. So our definitely our Creatives Miami program released after you mentioned our last MMFM in September, where we had some great panels on AI and other topics in the entertainment business, international co-productions. We had one-to-one meetings. And so from all of the project submissions this year, we created our second annual Orange List, which, if for some of those who are familiar with the Hollywood Blacklist, is a listing of some of the top unproduced film and television projects written in, by, and for Miami-Dade County. So that list is actually published now. I can send you a link. We sent it in our last email blast and already getting some very, very cool reactions from that.
We'll put a link to the Orange List on the website.
Yeah. Let's put it on screen here, baby.
Okay. So that is, I told you it was packed.
Yes,
Action
action-packed
packed. That's
industry
right.
heat. Well, I mean, we're talking about Miami Vice. How much more action-packed can it be?
There you go. So until next week, of which we have an incredible interview for you, I'm Kevin Sharpley.
I'm Jail Martinez.
And we will hear you and see you next week.
And you'll see us. Dale.
Boom.